Pete Miguel found himself at his desk, hunched over an array of case files that blanketed the sturdy oak surface. The musty smell of old paper permeated the room, mingling with the familiar scent of his freshly brewed coffee. Sasha and Lola were comfortably sprawled on the plush rug by his feet, their ears occasionally twitching, when Pete muttered under his breath. The first case file bore the name of Rosa Diaz, a lively socialite known for her ebullience and love for a Coro's vibrant nightlife. Her lifeless body had been found on the jagged rocks at the marina, right outside Comeria Marina restaurant. Rosa Diaz, Pete murmured, causing Sasha's ears to perk up at the sound of his voice. The belle of the ball, found in such a state, a party girl with an appetite for life. Pete's fingers danced over the scrawled notes left by the original detectives. Their observations were much the same as his own. The audacity of the killer to dispose of the body in such a popular spot suggested an inclination toward risk, enjoyment taken in being daring. The next victim was Maria Alvarez, a dedicated art history student, who was as passionate about her studies as she was about life itself. Her body had been discarded near the famous Estrella Galicia brewery. Its discovery a gruesome start to an early morning worker's day. Maria Alvarez, Pete mused aloud, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. Found by the brewer, perhaps our killer fancies a pint or sees some sick inspiration in art. Lola's ears flicked as Pete verbalized his thoughts, her tail thumping lightly on the rug. Moving on, he read about Teresa Lopez, a beloved elementary school teacher whose life was cruelly snuffed out. Her body was discovered in the tranquil Mendez Nuez Gardens, a place that usually resonated with laughter and life. Teresa Lopez, a garden angel, Pete sighed heavily, a teacher found in a park, a place of innocence marred by such horror. The detectives had noted that the park was a part of Teresa's routine. The killer had done his homework, meticulously learning his victims' habits. The choice of location seemed to be a cruel joke the killer reveled in. Isabella Sanchez, the street reporter, Pete murmured, turning the details over in his mind. A woman seeking truth, silenced in a place buzzing with life. His gaze shifted to his beloved dogs. Their innocently curious eyes offered a comforting solace amid the storm of grim revelations. He found himself speaking to them, attempting to weave together the dark puzzle. Our killer is a shrewd one, Amias Armigas, he began, his gaze piercing into the darkness outside his window. Every move he makes is calculated, every step he takes is with purpose aimed he is not done. Leaning back in his chair, he ran a hand over his face, feeling the long hours and sleepless nights. The magnitude of the case bore down on him like an unwelcome weight. He had no choice but to shoulder. His eyes took on a determined glint, fingers drumming. Each victim bore the same mark etched onto her skin. It was a signature, a reminder of the depravity they were dealing with. It was this symbol that provided a grim thread linking the victims together. The nature of these symbols, however, was not uniform. Looking closely at the post-mortem photographs and the autopsy reports, Pete was able to discern that while most of these symbols were branded post-mortem, at least two weren't. It was the presence of a hemorrhagic aloa, sign of blood vessels rupturing due to the intense heat, while the heart was still beating around the band on these two victims that led him to this startling conclusion. Could it be possible then that not all four victims were linked? It was a consideration, certainly, but another, more chilling possibility nagged at the corners of his mind. Perhaps the killer was evolving, experimenting, looking to amplify the thrill by marking his victims in both life and death. It was a horrifying thought, but one that he couldn't ignore. A terrifying signature, a killer who toyed with his victims. Even after their demise, an unsolved puzzle with pieces missing. Just as Pete was losing himself in the whirlwind of his thoughts, the sharp ring of his phone sliced through the silence. Both Sasha and Lola lifted their heads, their ears perking up at the sudden noise. Pete reached over to his side table, picking up the phone to see Sergio's name flashing on the screen. Pete, Sergio's voice was a mixture of disbelief and urgency. There's something you need to hear, but not over the phone. Pete felt a jolt of adrenaline pulse through his veins. He shot up from his armchair, causing Sasha and Lola to jump to their feet. "I'm on my way," he responded, his voice steady despite the sudden shock. The sound of his phone clicking shut reverberated in the room. Sasha and Lola tilted their heads, their eyes following Pete, with curiosity as he quickly gathered his belongings. The impending meeting with Sergio, the urgency in his friend's voice, stoked the fires of his determination. He was about to uncover another layer of the dark mystery haunting a corral.